All right, my friends. Welcome back to All Cars Reacts. I am John, and today we are going to be doing a new reaction to a Motorweek retro review. This week it is the 2017 Hyundai Ioniq. Not the Ioniq 5, not the Ioniq 6, but the original, the OG, as the cool people say, Ioniq hybrid. And I really liked this car, and I thought it would be fun to do this video, and we'll talk about how much I liked it and its one fatal flaw. So, as always, make yourself comfortable as we take a not very long trip back down memory lane. Grab a beverage of choice. Just some leftover coffee this morning. It's relatively early here. And let's see what Motorweek said in this, what looks to be an extremely high quality filmed video about the Hyundai Ioniq.
Gasoline-electric hybrids have been on the streets for almost 2 decades now, but not one has been quite up to going head-to-head with the benchmark Toyota Prius. Well, Hyundai means to change that with an all-new Ioniq hybrid, a compact 5-door that is clearly designed to out-Prius the Prius. So, let's crank it up and see.
Okay, and you know, when this came out, I was really excited about it. As you've heard me say probably 50 times now, I thought pretty seriously about this because I like the idea of hybrid and I like the idea of Prius. I just didn't like the Prius. And then this came out, and we'll watch a little bit more before I give you my styling impressions, but I just wanted to start it off with, I really liked this car.
Despite a wealth of contenders over the years, the Toyota Prius has retained its spot as the pinnacle of hybrids. This 2017 Hyundai Ioniq isn't exactly a Prius copy, but it's pretty darn close. There will actually be 3 Ioniq versions, as this traditional hybrid will be joined by a plug-in variant as well as a full EV in the near future, all based on a dedicated hybrid platform shared with the Kia Niro wagon. Though thankfully, unlike Niro, the Ioniq doesn't portray itself as an SUV.
Okay, because they decided they wanted to go on to the engine all of a sudden. Let's scroll back here just a little bit. All right, so let's talk about the styling here real quick. I love it. I really do. I liked... it's complicated. Hyundai did such an amazing job over 30 years of ever improving their styling and sometimes doing things a little bit edgy. They generally started making stuff that just looked better than Toyota. All right, that's an opinion. Styling is subjective. I do think they've gone a little bit past that with some of their vehicles. They've ended up some really weird stuff. And they mentioned the Niro here, and I don't like the Niro really at all. But this looked like an Elantra, right? Or an Accent. I thought the design language was extremely attractive. They didn't copy the Prius. I think this was a much, much better looking car than the Prius. Maybe not the current generation, but this was a much better looking car. And really, although it looked a little bulbous, a little oriental from some angles, especially at the rear. Generally, I thought it was just extremely handsome, just never quite, oh my gosh, gorgeous, but, you know, hey, it's a mid-price car, right? So let's see what else they say.
The hybrid powertrain starts with a 1.6-liter i4 gas engine rated at 104 horsepower and 109 pound-feet of torque. Combined with a 32-kilowatt electric motor, total output is 139 horsepower. A small 1.6 kilowatt-hour battery resides under the rear seat, avoiding any loss of cargo space. While eco-friendliness is still important to many people, with fuel prices staying relatively low, the Ioniq will need to appeal to more than just the greenies in order for it to be successful. Well, its DCT transmission really aids in that regard, helping it feel sportier than rival hybrids, and Prius in particular, delivering quick shifts and allowing you to hold gears when spiritedly cornering. And it will do that, although ride quality was clearly still a priority.
So, a couple things here. First off, when you hear the specs on that engine, and then you add in the electric motor, nothing overwhelming there. 139 horsepower combined. That's okay, but that's, nothing to write home about, but it's certainly competitive. A tiny, tiny battery, which makes you wonder how it's going to do on fuel economy. Oh, I can't wait to hear what they say. Another styling thing, well, I do think the rear is a little goofy, and I think it's, if we look at it right here, I think it's where the hatch actually rounds off so strongly down at the bumper. Obviously you've got the tail lights as well, but it just looks a little funky to me. But then I start to look at the rear window, that kind of spoiler, and that little bit of glass that shows up underneath it. That's like an old, what was that? It was a CRX, Honda CRX. I don't know. I just think this is super, super cool. But then they also said that its transmission allows it to feel sportier and then calls out the Prius in the process. Toyota, for all their excellence at the hybrid technology, they made the most boring, vanilla, basic, generic, boring, I'm going to say that word again, car in the Prius. And Hyundai here had the opportunity to make something that was as good, but adds a little flavor to the equation. I kind of thought they did. So let's see what else they say.
Overall hybrid system operation and engine engagement is not quite as seamless as the Prius. It has great pickup, however, and the seats are far more comfortable. And indeed, it has a sporty feel inside as well, all in an attempt to make you forget you're actually in a hybrid, though there are plenty of displays to remind you otherwise. As far as interior room goes, numbers put it very similar to the Prius. A little more here, a little less there. Most notably, the rear seats feel much roomier to us. Tech interface is easy to master, and plenty of knobs and buttons remain. Much like the Prius, its hatchback cargo area provides a good amount of space and folding seat back versatility. Capacity is slightly higher here at 26.5 cubic feet. Proportions.
Okay, so let's talk about the interior. This is a really good looking car. Again, I kind of like what Hyundai was doing around this time period. And I do love this review that they keep comparing it directly to something, not just kind of talking in vague terms, right? Or only focusing on this one car and forgetting it's in an ecosystem. Love hatchbacks. I love hatchbacks. So I love that this and the Prius are hatchbacks. It has slightly better cargo space. It has more rear seat room. It, nip and tuck a little bit here and there in terms of the front seat, but the seats were more comfortable. You heard that. I really like this interior. I think it looks fantastic. I like the big vents with the infotainment screen mounted in the dash, not just sticking up there like a bulletin board. And I like the HVAC controls and the radio controls underneath it. Big buttons, clear. Everything looked so good in this car. And then we get to the two downfalls of it. The first is that Hyundai was making really good looking interiors, whether it was the Elantra or the Sonata or this. But I found if you went to a Honda dealer or if you went to a Toyota dealer and then you went to the Hyundai dealer, you could tell just touching it, feeling it, just the general sense that they weren't quite, it was still all plastic, all right? We're not going to pretend it's not. It wasn't quite as good a quality as what you got with the Honda and the Toyota. It was always just a slight cut below. Now, the prices were always a little bit cheaper, but, when one of my stepsons was whatever age he was, we needed to look for a car for him. And we actually looked at a Civic and a Elantra back to back. And the Elantra was cheaper, but it was obvious the Civic was just a slightly higher quality overall interior. And then even though the numbers matched up, it just felt smoother. It felt better. It just felt like a more quality car. That was what happened when I saw one of these too. Getting in it and you're like, it photographs well, it videos well, but the interior was ever so slightly ew. I would argue it is much more stylish than the Toyota at the time. I thought the Toyota, I think Toyota with the Prius, they go for just literally the cheapest plastic their manufacturers can make for them. I thought it was nasty. But comparing this to like an Elantra or a Civic, it's little icky inside. The other big thing is this is a much smaller car than I think people realize. The Prius has always done a relatively good job of feeling lightweight, like you're sitting in a tin can. Never feels really substantial, never feels powerful at all. It feels dangerously slow. But at least it feels a little roomy. For being a small car, I have found Priuses to feel just slightly on the roomy side. Small car, but still you've got some space. When I sat in this thing, and I'm not a huge man, I'm like 5'9", something like that, this felt small. It really did. So maybe they can say that the dimensions between the Toyota and this are a little bit bigger in one dimension, a little smaller in another. In the dimensions that made this feel spacious, it didn't have it. This felt very confining to me. And is one of the biggest reasons I did not end up buying one, because I like the style. I like everything this car was trying to do, and I just couldn't see myself driving it every day.
5-door style are also very similar, including the exact same 106.3-inch wheelbase. Yet the slick-looking Ioniq doesn't seem to scream eco at all. It proved fairly slick at our test track as well. Through the cones, there's plenty of understeer, but the trip was much quicker than we expected. There's a manageable amount of body roll, good weight to the steering, and decent balance, all allowing you to easily find a comfortable groove and push pretty hard. Acceleration was a bit less thrilling, but again, better than expected. Power is best at the high end of revs, as we managed a 0 to 60 of 9.6 seconds and a quarter mile of 17.4 at 81 miles per hour. Government fuel economy ratings at 55 city, 54 highway, and 55 combined, best the Prius is 52 combined. But our average of 53.1 on regular didn't quite match those numbers.
Okay, so let's talk about all of that. Hey, you know what? They ended up with a vehicle that, while not fast, feels peppier than the Prius, handles better than the Prius, and generally just does everything better than the Toyota, including, and I was hoping they were going to say it, including fuel economy. Now, maybe they didn't get, I think they're really nitpicking here. If they're forecasting 54 or 55 and you get 53.1, okay. Round up slightly. There's this car, humbly speaking, was better than the Prius in essentially every way. Let's see how they wrap it up.
Much like the Prius, there's a more efficient D-contented version, the Ioniq Blue, which ups the combined rating to 58. The energy impact score is naturally a very good one. Just 6 barrels of oil used and 2.7 tons of CO2 emissions yearly. Pricing starts at $23,085, just under the Prius's base. Look at paying closer to $30,000 for limited trim. The 2017 Hyundai Ioniq is not just a very nice and efficient hybrid, but a very useful car as well. And despite current fuel prices, we see a healthy market for this hybrid. The upcoming pricier PHEV and EV will be a tougher sell, no doubt. But the fact that Hyundai is unleashing all three is proof they have a long-range strategy in place. In many ways, Hyundai has beaten the Prius at their own game. Now they just need to have buyers notice.
Oh, strong ending. And I think that's the problem. You know, I don't know how this sold. In terms of numbers, my opinion is it's a complete and absolute flop. You know, this is the equivalent of Coca-Cola being out there. You come out with something better tasting, like, I don't know, RC Cola, and you can't get the sales. You can't challenge the king, no matter what you do. This car was better looking interior, more efficient, and ever so slightly cheaper, with a better warranty, I believe. And I imagine this would be discounted more than what Toyota was going to do. This was a better car in almost every way. Almost. And I don't think it came close. I don't think it touched a fraction of what the Prius sold. I'm going to look it up while I edit this together for you. I'll look it up and see if I can find some sales numbers on it. And if I can, I'll compare the two while they, being sold together. But the end result is I think it sold very poorly. And then it was just kind of faded away after, I think, 5 years. I think it was 2017 to 2022, something like that. But they revived the Ioniq name, and now, of course, they use it for the Hyundai electric vehicles, like the Ioniq 5, which is one of my favorite electric vehicles. So its legacy is that it was a bookend, I guess. It didn't get noticed. It didn't get, I believe, the respect it deserved. And it's kind of a shame that it didn't kick off a whole sub-brand within Hyundai that would include their plug-in hybrids and their fully electric vehicles. And it just kind of faded away. And that makes me really sad. Now they revived the name, and that makes me a little sad too, because it was supposed to be hybrids, and it wasn't. They just kind of scatter their hybrids around. So, throughout their lineup, just you got hybrid Santa Fe's and things like that, right? The fact is I really like this car. I really like this car. This car speaks to me. This car is exactly the kind of car I like to drive. I think having a hybrid would be a great step. I like the idea of better fuel efficiency. It's got the hatchback for the groceries. I won't say it's perfect, because it's about half a size too small for me to be comfortable in, and that's what kept me out of it. So I'm going to finish up there. I've gone on for a little while. Let me know what you think below, but I do appreciate y'all spending a couple of minutes with me here today. Thanks much, y'all.